In the alternative world, Trent Reznor, how many people are familiar with what Trent Reznor has been doing over the last year? It's just some amazing stuff. He's basically going, here's everything I've done. He's selling more music by giving his music away. It's amazing. He's giving away live shows. He's giving away mixes. He's basically letting you see what's going on in the studio. You are completely immersed in Trent Reznor's life and not what Nine Inch Nails is up to. And instead of trying to control access to his music, he's eliminated the control. He's handed over the control to his fans. And yes, he's a big artist, but there's nothing wrong with giving away music for free to seed an audience. It's no different than we were talking before about people who used to give away mixtapes standing on a corner. Now you can give your mixtape away to the world. If you're worried that what you've done is the best thing you're ever going to do and that's the end of it, then you shouldn't give it away. But if you're at the beginning of the curve, you want people to know what you're doing. I mean, you were very fairly eloquent about that, so.
No, I completely agree. A lot of artists sometimes, especially I don't know what level that you're at, but you need to take advantage of the full options that the internet gives you. Just the viral natures and the tools that you can use that are on the web now. You can make yourself a global player just within the click of a button. A specific advice I would give you is I would make sure I establish a personal artist profile or a label profile on the big social networks, MySpace, Facebook. It's all there. A YouTube channel is very helpful because you can then take a YouTube player and then you can then begin seeding that on other blogs. So say, for example, if you have, digitally upload a song of yours and you created a little, teaser video, you can then take that and embed that on other people's MySpace, other people's fan pages. And so you can really take advantage of those viral tools. And then I would take the embed code, which is very simple to do. If you click YouTube and it shows you the actual code, you can actually then give that away to other people that work for you. So in my office, we have a team of bloggers and seeders that just sit and put embed codes on various websites, any place that'll even look at it. It doesn't necessarily have to be dance music specific because that will get you out there. But that all stems from the fact that if you really want to promote yourself, you almost have to give it away for free at this stage in the digital place. And I think that in turn drives sales. I was speaking with some of the guys here. When we stream, it's essentially an online radio station. When we stream events, those events in turn drive traffic to a DJ download or a Beatport because you can hear that song in action. If Pete Tong plays a track and then you have no idea where to get it, the options are available for you to find it. So for you specifically, I would create a profile on the majority of the social networks that are out there, and then I would begin seeding the shit out of it.
I'll give you 3 tips. Get your music out to music supervisors, the people who professionally put music into games, TV shows. Get a personal relationship with as many of these people as you can so they know who you are, so they know what your feel in the electronic music world, because it's a source of income that people talk about. They don't realize how much work it takes to get the song into a show, but start by building that relationship. That's number 1. Number 2, kind of we talked about it a little bit, but consider not only releasing your tracks, but release your stems.
Right.
Let people have a full shot at remixing your track and putting their mix out. Now, there's a bunch of legal issues there too, but just keep that in mind. Release your stems. And here's another one. We talked about blogs. Go after blogs, not only electronic music blogs, but other blogs in other genres. Let them know what you're doing, because every time you see a new genre of music come in, it's usually the result of cross-pollination. Somebody blends something with something else, and next thing you know, you've got a new genre of music. So go after other blogs, or after blogs in other genres as well. So there's 3.
Okay. Question in the back there. You have a mic? Try again.
Let's try this one.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to what extent does the panel think the internet, we have actually fully embraced the internet, and is Discovery working? And if they think it is, what's the best example they've seen, other than obviously their own site?
Discovery tools. The best one out there right now there's 2. There's one called EchoNest, EchoNest.com, because it combines social interaction with music recommendation, and there's another one called Syntonetic out of Denmark that's doing a really good job. But I think the future of what we're all talking about here is about discovery, recommendation, and personalization, because the point that the gentleman was asking, how do I get noticed? The internet's been wonderful for creating this level playing field where everyone in this room has a chance. But the playing field has gotten so big that to stand out, you need to get discovered. You need to get recommendation. You need that profile that he's talking about. You need to get yourself noticed, because where you were competing 5 years ago or 10 years ago with 27,000 releases a year, you're competing with about 1 million pieces of new music a year now.
I think a brilliant example would be Deadmau5. The way that he's embraced the internet and he's taking those tools is making him a worldwide phenomenon. I mean, 3 years ago, not many people knew who he was, but I'm sure a lot of people in this industry all know who he is clearly just by taking advantage of the MySpace tools, and he gives everything away. I mean, the guy, he'll hand out his CDs, he'll do it, and he's a major recording artist. He has
This is-
Deadmau5.
Oh.
His I Remember track with Cascade is,
Right.
it's a top-selling song now, but he's
Right.
still continuing to give these away. And he just embraces all things that the internet provides him.
Anybody else? Okay, here, question? We can do a mic or very loudly. Okay.
So is the conclusion that the customer should stop paying for music and other companies should pay for it? If we were listening radio, nobody pays for listening it. So should there be other companies involved outside the music industry who might support platforms promoting music? And not the cost.
And anybody can jump in on this, but there's a huge interaction now between brands and music. And whether it's Coca-Cola or Nike or whoever it is putting money up. But I think it's making you aware of more music. But we were discussing pre-panel the idea that it's not one replacing the other. It's not Spotify necessarily or Rhapsody or Napster replacing ownership. It's not an either-or situation. It's just the exposure of more music. I mean, you had some thoughts on this? No?
Well, I agree with you that, of course, the music industry is changing, and it's a main theme on this conference. Also, last year, the interaction between brands and music and new business models. I mean, the music consumption on a broader perspective is rising every year in the whole world. That means that music as a product is still the most successful industrial good that is invented ever. So it's a positive thing, but on the other side, this decline in physical sales and so, all the stories. So there will come some new models, but it will be also more complicated. For example, if you go just to the advertising scene, you have a financial crisis, the advertising market is not doing so well, and then the prices will go down. This is difficult, and also you need some other tools to make business models work. You need other competences, like maybe 20 years ago in the music industry, because it's more like a business case combined with a fashion company, for example, to bring values to work. And so there are also some tasks for the music industry to go on this line.
So the PRS announced yesterday or today new streaming rates. Have you seen this?
I haven't heard, but
Okay, so it dropped from 0.22 to 0.08. Is that correct?
0.8 to 8% to 10.5.
It went down.
The streaming went down. The
Streaming went down.
permanent download went up, I think.
Okay, so the streaming went down. What effects is this going to have? I mean, we've had Pandora, which hasn't been able to launch in a bunch of territories. This is going to be a positive effect? Everybody believe?
well, I mean, it kind of goes back to the bigger question of licensing and how you handle that internationally. I mean, part of Pandora's problem is that the hoops you had to jump through to get licensed internationally were so insurmountable that they had to stop broadcasting outside the United States. It's something we face on the download side as well, in getting legal in all these different territories. And I mean, if you want to get into that topic for a
Yes,
moment,
let's get into it.
certainly that it's all of these sites, us, Beatport, anybody selling digital downloads currently. If you're selling in 176 countries around the world, technically you need 176 different licenses, all which must be separately negotiated, with a few exceptions, in order to handle the rights that the music publishers cover. Now, That's great. Music publishers ought to be paid, though they handle the songwriters. They are right apart from the master owners. That's the record company side. So we're dealing with a separate set of rights. And getting them paid is important, but how it's done when you're a small company is the big issue. And you can imagine that having to deal with hundreds of licenses, even dozens of licenses, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. In fact, you might not be able to do it if you're a 4-man or a 6-man operation selling MP3 files. So right now, in my mind, the big issue is this notion that we really need to get the music publishing world, and really that's those publishers represented by the performing rights organizations, on side in a better way. I noticed 3 weeks ago in the New York Times, the European Telecommunications Commissioner has made another proposal. This would be put before the European Parliament to take down the barriers that would require that 27 different licenses be needed in Europe. They're really trying to push for a pan-European license. It's something that has been talked about for, well, at least formally since 2005. And in fact, probably even before that with something that was called the Santiago Convention. But anyway, bottom line is, we need to get greater cooperation between the music publishing world and the digital download world, and have everybody understand that this idea of retailing music on a digital platform is essential to making sure that the reproduction royalties, the mechanical royalties, still are there, and that stream is still there. And we need to simplify the licensing process to make that happen.
Any publishers in the room? Anyone from a major publisher? That's your hand up? You're from a major publisher?
I see a bunch of
Or is that a
publishers who are
question?
keeping their hands down, but
Why does music launches first in vinyl and after at digital?
I'm sorry?
Why does music launches first in vinyl and after on digital?
sir, I'm not following that.
What?
Why first vinyl and then digital? Why do people do that? He doesn't know. He's
Oh, why do people still do that?
Because the margins are higher and they don't want to. I mean, you know, lots of labels will do 2-week vinyl out. 2 weeks later, the download comes out.
Okay. You had a question over there?
Yeah, hi. There's something we haven't mentioned, I don't think we've mentioned yet, which is paid-for subscriptions, which
Right.
is, I work for Sony Music, my name is Alex Vasopoulos, and it's something we're very interested in at the moment. I think when you've got this specialist, very passionate audience that you guys have in dance, that there's certainly an argument to cut yourself away from iTunes and these guys when it is a pricing issue, to bring in this nice premium loyalty scheme that might offer up exclusives, access to some of the DJs, maybe money off some of the hardware that you're selling, you know, potentially even money off tickets, and get this nice little paid-for download loyalty subscription scheme going. Is that something you guys are looking into?
We talked about subscription beforehand. There's feelings that, it can coexist. I mean, it's not this either-or thing. I mean, I'm personally a huge proponent of subscription. I don't feel I need to own anything anymore. If I can access it wherever I am, if it's a ubiquitous access, I'd rather pay $10 a month for access to 5 million songs than pay $10 a month to buy 10 tracks. But your thoughts?
I suppose they can coexist. So, I mean, we're not particularly looking at anything subscription-based at the moment. You know, I think DJs still need to own the music, I think, because of what the hardware and software does. I think at some point, potentially, and people are talking about whether they could wire up clubs to have the ability for a DJ to download something, you know, off a network while they're in the club and have access to files in the cloud and things like that. But for those clubs to be wired up in that way, and for the potentially for the hardware and software manufacturers to for the, you know, that type of file to be able to be used on that hardware and software, to my mind is a good many years away. So
Well, even still, so much of what you would play in the club, though, are often customized mixes. I mean, it's something that you might have put together that afternoon, and it'd be pointless to try to have a club wired so that I could download that track. I mean, I came out of the studio, I've got it on a CDR, or I've got it assembled in Ableton, and I'm going to put it back together again that night in the club.
I mean, we're always watching other models and kind of looking at how, you know, the different sites work and kind of entertaining, you know, considering whether or not things might work for us. But at the moment, you know, I think subscription, well, for us personally, is not something that we can see working on any great scale.
Okay, back there. Well, I'll go back here first. 1 second. Back on the aisle there. Yep.
Hi.
Okay.
John Truelove music publisher. Mark, I wanted to pick up on your point about music publishers not having their shit together as far as licensing is concerned. Your counterparts on the other side of the panel have been very successful and had a very easy road of getting mechanical licenses for all their downloads, which contrasts quite starkly with your experience of getting Beatport licensed in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Surely the problem is more with how things are in North America and the lack of regulation there and the lack of collective action rather than with the music publishers?
No, and John, remember, it's also, it's let's zero in on it a little bit more. It's the performing rights organizations. They represent the music publishers, but we're dealing with a particular bureaucratic mindset who has got their turf staked out and they're operating like the mafia. You know, if you do business on my turf, you're going to pay. Now that's fine, because music publishers deserve to get paid. And let me be clear on that. Songwriters must get paid. But to get to that point, and maybe I should, another point to clarify is, with the other with DJ Download, with Juno, I mean, did you guys go through and did you get 27 different licenses for your operation in order just to be able to sell in Europe? Forget about the rest of the world.
No, but when we started, we did go to the MCP PRS and get a license, and at that stage it was unclear across Europe whether or not we needed to have multiple licenses. And we were, at that point, it was explained to us via the PRS MCPS that they would collect on all the repertoire sold, which we paid 8.5% on everything sold.
Yeah.
For the first 2 years, or 2.5 years, before they had their tribunal and they changed their ruling. So we, from the get-go, were paying that. And I kind of agree with what John had to say. I mean, you guys, very late in the market, into the fray. You played with an extra 8% margin for 3.5 years, while the other sites...
We paid that to the labels, though. I mean, the publishing was being paid. What we tried to do is we tried to do a pan-European license, and this is public knowledge. We tried to do it with the Dutch agency.
Right.
We tried to go in and get a pan-European license because they had done it with eMusic. We thought, okay, look, do it again with us. And that the Dutch agency said, okay, let's try it. And when they announced it, it was apocalypse now. The other PROs just went ballistic because then they realized, wait a minute, if this is the trend and that websites are going to go to one particular rights agency and get all the clearances, well, we're going to lose business. And so we had to back off that because the Dutch agency couldn't proceed any further, and we've had to go and get all these licenses.